Now let's jump into grouping and aggregation, which is very important. Now, when we're talking grouping and aggregation, of course, we did similar in SQL, though the SQL is still ongoing, and we did same thing in Excel. Now, in Excel, in Power BI basically uses grouping and aggregation. Excel, we have an intermediary which is called pivot table to do the grouping and aggregation ourselves. Okay, so in this case, we want to group a data. Then, for example, let's say we have gender in our column. We want to see how many male, how many female. That is grouping. Immediately we say how many male, how many females. Right? We're saying males and female. Once we bring gender into it, we're automatically grouping them, separating. Then we want to do aggregation, which can be a count, a sum, min, max, and all the rest. Okay, so we'll look at grouping and aggregation. We'll create a new data frame for that as well. So let's say sales data this time. And just put it as pd dot data frame as usual, once and for all. Open, close. So that you don't think data frame df is what we must always use for a variable name. Okay, so now we are using sales data. So we can say the region is, so I'll say north, south, north again, then we'll say east, then we'll say south, then we'll say east. So we'll do a dot split so that it becomes a list, right? Because we want to pass in a list at that point. Then we'll say product. Say product. Just say, let's say laptop. Then we'll say mouse. Then we can say laptop again, laptop. Then we can say headphone. We can say what other products? Let's say so let's also say type C USB hub, type C. Now in this case, because I probably don't want it to split on that, so I'll say type C USB hub. Okay, then we can say laptop stand. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So say laptop stand. I'll just use underscore so that it doesn't split on that. Or can say laptop stand. We'll just do it another way, so we don't end up doing some replacing. Okay. Type C USB hub. So that means right. Let me separate with an underscore then. Laptop stand. Oh, our normal comma. Okay, since that seems more logical. Comma, 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 and comma. Okay, just like that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we'll do our dot split. So this time we're telling it what to split on, and that will be a comma. So we're saying split on the comma. Let me see if I can break this down this way. Okay. So we're saying split on the comma, and finally we want to have the sales value. Let me put the comma. Okay. So say sales. All right. Sales will have some figure. Let's say 100, or let's say 500. Then we'll say 50. Then we'll say 500 again. Let's take this out. So we'll say 250. Then we'll say 75. Then we'll say 110. 110. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is the data we want to use, and let's just print out the data and see what it looks like. As usual, we print our sales data. Sales data. So you can see, so it did the work nicely for us, just like that, right? So what else do we want to do? Now that we have a data, we can now try to do what? Run our what's it called again? We can now try to run our grouping and aggregation. For example, on see total sales by region, things like that, or total sales by product and the rest. But just before we jump into that, I would like to rename this to lowercase, all the columns. So we can do sales data dot columns. Remember we did this earlier. Okay, so just say sales data dot columns, then we'll pass in the data. So it's more of a reminder for our what's it called now, our data cleaning process. So we just looked at handling missing data, handling duplicates, correcting data types, so cleaning up data as well, whether we're doing some string manipulation and all. We can also check that. I think we did that somewhere in here, right? In here, so we can check. Yeah, right. No, this is filtering. Now you can see this is the point where we did all of the renaming columns. We also did feature engineering, right? Then we also did dropping columns, right? We also did dropping columns, but this is not necessarily a null column, right? An empty column. What we did later is dropping empty columns. Okay, so you can see this is what we want to do. We just pass it in like that. We'll say all at once. It just replaces everything. We're saying the df, we now have these columns like this, right? Just say the dfs, we now have the columns like this. Okay, so I think I should include that in here. So I should be selecting, sorting and filtering, renaming columns, Um, after renaming columns, we also did dropping columns and dropping columns. All right. So we can collapse this, go all the way. Okay, so this is where we're, let's close this. This is where we're renaming our column. Okay, we don't need to repeat this. We're saving or overwriting the variable. Then we'll say name, sorry, product, region. Oh, region first. My bad. Region, product, and then we'll do a sales. Okay, so if we print sales data again, sales underscore data. Okay, so we have now been able to rename everything at once, right? So if we want to rename individually, then we'll pass in, we'll open a bracket for the columns, then we'll pass in a dictionary of what we want to change, all right? So let's jump into the grouping and aggregation. So I'll just create some cells down, Control B. Let's just add more. Let's add a couple of them. Okay, how many do we have? Yeah, this is more than enough. So let's start with the regional sales. So let's say we want to see total sales by region, right? So all we have to do is, let's see, that will be grouped by region and aggregates by sales and aggregates by sales. So we can just say total sales by region, which is a variable name where we want to save our results, will be df, sales data dot group by. So what do we want to group by? We want to group by region. Now, since we are grouping by region, what do we want to aggregate by? That will now come in square bracket right in front of it, and that will be what? Sales. So put in sales. So we're saying group by region, aggregate by sales. So we just put dot sum, because we're taking the total sales, which will be sum of sales. So if we print this down here, you can see what we have. See how nice it came out. So we have region and then we have sales, just like that. So we can see region and we can see sales. Now if you look at it based on calculation for east, we are seeing 360. So let's see east. That's 250 plus 110, and that's correct. We're seeing north. North is 1000, because the two laptops are from the north, and south is 75 plus 50. That should be 120. 125, yeah, not 120, 125. So we have been able to what? Group and aggregate. What if we want to group by two columns at once? Okay, so we can say okay, let me copy the comment as well. Okay, so what if we want to group by region and product, and then we aggregate by the sales? What do we do? Inside there we pass in a list. So say region and product. All right, so pass in region and product. So we can call this sales by region product. So let's print this down here. Do not forget the variable name, then group by. If it's just a single column you want to group by, pass in only that column. If you want to aggregate by multiple columns, passing the multiple columns. Now, unlike SQL where you have to select and then it tells you, oh, if you're grouping by this, you have to aggregate by this. If you're aggregating by this, you have to group by this. And maybe by default, you cannot tell. In this case, it lets you know, okay, what are you grouping by? And then you now show what you want to aggregate by. Okay. So let's see what this gives us. And you can see, so east, for the 2 times we have east, headphone, laptop stand. Then for north, it's just laptop. So that's why it's a single product. You can see 1000. For south, we have mouse and USB. Just like that. So we can go by 2 columns. What if we want to aggregate by more than 1 column? Or we want to perform more than one aggregation on the sales. Let's say we want to get the for example, we want to get the sum, which is the total. We want to get the average and we want to get the number, right? We want to get the count, something like that. So we can just copy all of this. Group by sales and aggregate by sales with multiple option, multiple, multiple. Okay, just leave that there. Multiple options. Now here we can say aggregate. Now by hovering on it, you can see it's giving us some nice visualization. It's giving us the total summary of it. We have the artificial intelligence option turned on for all of that. So say aggregate by sales, AGG by sales, aggregate sales, group region. So let's put it this way: aggregate sales, group region. So I'll copy and paste this down here. So we can always use the print to show it in the raw form. Okay, can always use the print to show it in the raw form. Now instead of doing sum directly, we'll say AGG, which is an aggregate. Then inside there, we can now pass in sum and say we want to get the mean. And say, okay, let me just break it from here. They break properly. Okay, sales.groupby. Okay, so then aggregates. It's showing an error already. Let's say let's do it regardless. And then we want to put in account. So this is what we have, and then we want to print the result out to see how that looks like. So we'll be printing what's aggregated sales. But the way we broke the code into separate line, yeah, so the group by is not getting the group by option correctly. Or if I break it this way instead, all right, let's leave it on a single line the way it is. Let's just put everything on a single line. Then we execute it, and now it's printing out correctly. So you can see it's now printing out correctly. It's just the breaking that it's not getting properly. What if I do it on a single line? Okay. No, it's already showing an error. Let me indent it. Still showing an error. Keep it on a single line. Okay. We'll keep it on a single line like that. Run it again. And you can see what we get. So for east, sum is this, average is this, count. That means number of products in those places, right? We have the number of products in those places. All right. Well, Having come this far in this particular channel, you will notice that we know better not to leave our results like this. For example, we're saying sum of what? We're saying mean of what? We're saying count of what? Right? It does not really make sense. So how can we make sure that we properly display our results? I'll copy all of this. I'll paste it in this new cell. And all we want to do here is simply display our results properly. Okay. So in this case, I can bring this down. So that should be able to break properly at that point. Then I'll also do like this. Put it like this will work. Now since we have sum and everything, so we'll say total sales will be equal to this. So what are we aggregating on? Sales. And what aggregation do we want to perform? Sum. Then we'll do a comma. The next thing is average sales. Average sales. Then we'll open this. Then we'll say still the sales. So you can see we can aggregate different column as well. So but in this case we are still aggregating the sales. And then we'll say we're doing a mean. And finally, you can say number of products, number of product or quantity. So we'll say number of products. I think it's number of product because in some regions we have different products. So number of product, not quantity. Right? It's not a specific product. So we'll do this, and then we'll say, and just count products. Then we'll say we're doing a count. Okay. Now we can take this out. And okay, everything is okay. So we can just say call this aggregated sales, AGG sales. Let's put it this way. Put this AGG sales right here. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. What are we missing? Okay, type error. Function expects to receive tuples in keyword arguments. Yep, these are tuples. Okay, these are the keywords. Okay, let's look at it together. Okay, first of all, we have this. So this does not probably exist, but the error is, I think the error is not reaching here first, right? It's if we comment this out and we run it, so it's telling us that this is not found. So that was because of the underscore earlier. Undo that. So you can see, if you undo it again, you can see there was an underscore here, but that is not the error. So what? Oh, means. It's mean, not means. Well, this error happens, and you just have to like look through your code again. So what else did I miss? We have sales data, right? 1, 2, 3. So we're still getting the same thing, and it's pointing to the first line now. So aggregate sales by. Well, since the error is coming from the first line, since the error is coming from this first line. Okay, all right. So I already specified sales here, and of course so far is picking sales. But on getting to product, sadly, it's not pointing it out to me. On getting to product is not part of what is listed there. So what I can do is take this out completely, since I'm performing aggregation on another column. So I can take this out completely, or I list it inside there, right? And then this should run without any error eventually. Okay, so that was the error that occurred before. Again, let me show you. We passed in sales here, but we're aggregating on that column. So we can just remove it completely, and then it automatically knows that, okay, this is the column, this is the function, this is the column, this is the function, this is the column, this is the function, and it's not looking for it anywhere else. And you can see how nice this is. And we can also add a keyword called reset underscore index. Okay, then we'll run that, and you can see. So by resetting the index, we're now having it, instead of the way it was floating, it's now properly on the same line, right? So I'll remove reset index. Let's just do that separately. Okay, I'll copy all of this, Control A, Control C, take this out, run it again. Let's just hold on for the network. It's coming up now. Why is it taking long? Runtime disconnected. Okay, it's now connecting again. All right, we'll execute that. Good. You can see how it's floating. And if we put this here, and then we'll do the reset index, it's now properly appearing in here right now. You can see this looks nicer and cleaner. You can easily tell this can be instead of number of products, can be order counts, right? Order counts, or count of order, anything. All right, so this is better. So let's look at the one we did earlier, just a single aggregation. So as usual, now you can now reset this index. You can reset this index. But this particular, okay, this particular one, let's reset the index, since it's just a single aggregation. Where is it? Okay, this was our data. Then we can do reset underscore index. Then we'll say name equals to total sales, total underscore sales. Then we can run that, and then you can see now it's properly showing. So as a challenge, or not necessarily a challenge, as an exercise, reset all the index of the rest and give them a proper name as you have seen. Okay, give them a proper name as you have seen. And yes, we have been able to do grouping and aggregation on single column, multiple columns, multiple aggregations, resetting index, so that we can have a clean good result. Okay, right, let's collapse all of this and then look at pivot tables.